AITAH for slapping my sister-in-law in front of her whole family. I slapped my sister-in-law in front of her entire family. The sound was so loud that the whole living room went silent instantly, like someone had cut the power. Her mouth fell open, her hand froze halfway in the air, and everyone's eyes snapped toward me. My husband's jaw dropped, his mother gasped, and his father stood up like he wanted to say something but couldn't get the words out. My sister-in-law's face turned red, then pale, then red again. She just stood there, staring at me in shock, her cheek already swelling. Nobody moved. Nobody said a word. It was like the whole house stopped breathing. And in that silence, I knew there was no turning back. But let me take you back to where this all started. When I first met my husband's sister, I thought she was sweet. She smiled a lot, hugged me too tightly, and said she was so happy to finally meet me. I believed her. In fact, I even thought she and I would become close friends because she seemed so welcoming. But as time passed, I started to notice little things. Comments that sounded nice, but had thorns hidden inside them. Questions that felt less like curiosity and more like judgment. At first, I brushed them off. I told myself maybe I was overthinking, or maybe she just didn't know me well yet. For example, when I brought dessert to a family dinner, she said with a smile, "Oh, it's cute that you tried baking, but in this family, we prefer real home-cooked sweets." Everyone laughed like it was just a joke. I laughed too, but inside, I felt stung. Then it became more frequent. She would comment on my clothes, my cooking, even the way I spoke. "Wow, you talk so fast. No wonder people can't always understand you," she once said in front of everyone. Or she'd compare me to my husband's ex-girlfriend, who apparently had such a natural sense of style. Still, I stayed quiet. I didn't want drama. I didn't want my husband to feel caught in the middle. I told myself it wasn't worth it. But things started building up. One time, during a family trip, she accidentally spilled coffee on my dress right before we were supposed to take family pictures. She laughed it off, said she was clumsy, but the look she gave me while everyone was scrambling to help me clean up made my stomach twist. Another time, she made a comment about how some people marry into families just for comfort, while staring right at me. I smiled through it, but inside, I wanted to scream. I remember lying awake at night asking myself if I was imagining all of this. Was I too sensitive, or was she really trying to break me down bit by bit? Things came to a head when we were all invited to her house for a big dinner. It was supposed to be a happy family gathering. I even helped cook and set the table, wanting to be part of things, wanting to show her I could be supportive. But from the moment I walked in, I felt her eyes on me, waiting for me to slip up. She whispered things under her breath, rolled her eyes when I spoke, and smirked whenever I tried to share a story. Everyone else was too busy talking and laughing, but I felt it like sharp needles. Then, during dinner, she dropped the comment that lit the fire. She leaned across the table, smiled sweetly, and said, "You know, my brother really downgraded when he married you. Not that it's your fault. You just don't have the class or background we expected. But hey, at least you're trying." The whole table froze for a second, then erupted in awkward laughter, like people weren't sure if it was a joke. My husband looked stunned, but said nothing. And me? I sat there, my hands trembling under the table, trying to swallow the lump in my throat. I excused myself, went to the bathroom, and stared at my face in the mirror. My eyes were red, my chest tight. A little voice in my head kept saying, "Don't cause drama. Don't embarrass your husband." But another voice, louder this time, said, "Enough is enough." When I came back to the living room after dinner, everyone was gathered for dessert. My sister-in-law was in the middle of telling a story, all smiles, playing the perfect hostess. She looked at me, smirked, and said, "Oh, you're back. Took a while. Did you need extra time to fix your face?" That was it. I don't even remember standing up. I don't even remember crossing the room. All I remember is the heat in my chest, the ringing in my ears, and the sound of my hand connecting with her cheek. Slap. And now here we are. Her staring at me, the family frozen, my husband's eyes wide with disbelief, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it. And then she opened her mouth. But before a single word came out, her mother screamed my name. Her mother screamed my name so loudly that even the neighbors might have heard it. The shrillness cut through the silence like a knife. Everyone's heads whipped toward her, and her hands flew to her chest as if she had just witnessed a crime. "Did you just slap my daughter?" she screamed, her voice shaking with both anger and disbelief. I stood there frozen, my palms still tingling from the impact. I didn't answer. I couldn't. The words stuck in my throat like glue. My sister-in-law's eyes brimmed with tears, but she didn't cry. Instead, she tilted her head, smirked slightly, and whispered, "Wow, I always knew you were unstable." That broke the silence again. People started talking all at once. Her dad demanded an explanation. My husband jumped to his feet, his face pale, asking me, "What the hell just happened?" Her cousins muttered under their breath. Kids started crying from the tension in the room. I felt like the ground beneath me was crumbling. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to scream that I wasn't unstable, that she had pushed me, that she had been insulting me for months. But my mouth betrayed me. All I could manage was a shaky, "She deserved it." Gasps, shock, stares. It was like pouring gasoline on a fire. Her mother nearly fainted at my words. "Deserved it?" she cried. "You come into my house, you hit my daughter in front of me, and you dare to say she deserved it?" My husband grabbed my arm, pulling me aside. "What are you doing?" he whispered harshly, his grip tight. "Do you realize what you've just done?" And then, like a final twist of the knife, my sister-in-law began to cry. Not loud sobbing, just quiet, trembling tears that made her look fragile and innocent. She turned to her parents and said, "I don't even know why she hates me so much. I've tried to be nice, I've tried to include her, and this is how she treats me." Everyone's eyes turned back to me, and I realized in that moment, I looked like the villain. I wanted to shout about the comments, the insults, the digs at my cooking, my clothes, my marriage. I wanted to replay the dinner table scene where she called me a downgrade. But how could I? There was no proof. No one else had noticed or cared. To them, she was the sweet, innocent daughter, and me, I was the woman who had just slapped her for no reason. The weight of judgment pressed down on me. My husband's grip loosened, but the disappointment in his eyes stung more than the whispers circling the room. Her father finally stepped in. His voice was deep and controlled, but I could tell he was holding back rage. This is unacceptable. You owe your daughter an apology right now. An apology. The word echoed in my head. Apologize? After everything she had said and done to me? After the way she humiliated me again and again? My fists clenched, my lips trembled. Part of me wanted to swallow my pride, apologize, and make it all go away, but another part of me, the louder part, screamed that apologizing would mean letting her win. I stayed silent. That silence stretched for what felt like forever. My sister-in-law dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, sniffing softly. Her mother glared at me like I was a monster. My husband ran his hands through his hair, muttering under his breath. Finally, her father broke the tension. He said, "If you can't respect this family, maybe you don't belong in it." The words hit me harder than a slap. I felt my chest tighten, my knees weaken. I turned to look at my husband, searching his face for reassurance, for defense, for anything, but he said nothing. He just sat down heavily on the couch, covering his face with his hands. That was the lowest moment of the night. I felt utterly alone. And then, just as I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. My sister-in-law stood up slowly, still clutching her cheek. She sniffed one last time, wiped her tears, and said softly, "If she can't even admit what she did was wrong, maybe she shouldn't stay here tonight." Her mother nodded instantly. She should leave. I looked at my husband, expecting him to say something, to fight for me, but he didn't. He looked up at me, his eyes conflicted, and whispered, "Maybe it's best if you go home tonight." The room spun, my ears rang. They wanted me to leave, kicked out, like a criminal. And then, before I could even process the humiliation, my sister-in-law added one final line, her voice dripping with venom that only I seemed to hear. "Some women just don't belong in this family." That was when I snapped again. My vision blurred, my chest burned, and I stormed across the room toward her. My chest pounding like a drum. Every step I took echoed in the silent room, and all I could see was her smug face, the little smirk playing on her lips, even though her cheek was still red from the slap. She thought she had won. She thought she had turned everyone against me. And maybe she had. But in that moment, I didn't care. "Don't you dare talk about me like that again," I hissed, my voice trembling with rage. Her eyes widened for a second, then she smiled, an evil, knowing smile. "Or what?" she whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. That was it. I lunged forward, ready to grab her, ready to make her understand that I wasn't going to take her insults anymore. Gasps filled the room. Her cousins scrambled out of the way. Her mother screamed my name again. But before I could even touch her, strong arms wrapped around me from behind. My husband. He yanked me back, pulling me away from her, his grip iron tight. "What are you doing?" he shouted in my ear, shaking me slightly. "Are you trying to make this worse?" I struggled against him, my anger boiling over. "Let me go. She's been tormenting me for months, and you just sit there letting her get away with it?" My words came out like fire, loud and raw. Everyone heard. Everyone froze. My husband's face went pale. He loosened his grip just a little, but his voice was low and warning. "Not here. Not like this." That should have been the moment I calmed down. That should have been the time I took a breath and walked away, but my sister-in-law wasn't done. She tilted her head, feigning innocence, and said sweetly, "Tormenting you? Please, you're paranoid. Maybe you need help." Laughter rippled softly through the room. Not from everyone, but from enough people that I felt the sting. A few cousins chuckled nervously. An uncle shook his head, muttering something about me being too sensitive. And that was the low point. The crushing realization that no one saw what I saw. No one believed me. Tears filled my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I stood there, breathing hard, my husband still holding on to me like I was a wild animal. Then her father spoke again, his voice heavy with finality. "This is not how we handle things in this family. If you can't control yourself, you're not welcome here anymore." The words hit like a knife. Not welcome. My knees felt weak, my vision blurred. I turned to my husband, desperate. "Are you just going to let them talk to me like this? Are you seriously going to let them throw me out?" He opened his mouth, but before he could speak, my sister-in-law stepped forward, her hand pressed to her cheek, her voice breaking. "It's okay, Dad. She's just jealous. I don't want to cause more trouble. If she stays, I'll just leave." The whole room erupted in protests. "No, don't leave. You're not the problem here. She's the one who started it." And once again, every accusing eye landed on me. I couldn't breathe. The walls felt like they were closing in. My husband hadn't defended me, not once. My in-laws were treating me like an outsider, like an enemy. And my sister-in-law was basking in the attention, pretending to be the victim when she had been the one tearing me down from the very beginning. Finally, I broke free from my husband's grip and shouted, "You're all blind. She's manipulating you, every single one of you. She's been insulting me since day one, and none of you ever noticed because she's too good at pretending to be innocent." My voice cracked. My chest heaved. For a moment, there was silence. Just a moment. Then her mother spoke again, her voice like ice. Enough. You are no longer welcome in this house. Leave, now. The final blow. I turned to my husband one last time, praying he'd speak up, that he'd say something, anything to stop this madness. But he just stood there, his face a storm of emotions I couldn't read, and whispered, maybe it's best if you go. The words shattered me. My own husband, choosing silence, choosing them. I grabbed my purse with shaking hands, my vision blurry from unshed tears. My legs felt like lead as I made my way to the door. The humiliation burned through me like fire. And just as my hand touched the doorknob, I heard my sister-in-law's voice behind me, calm and victorious. Don't come back unless you learn some respect. Something in me snapped again. I turned, my eyes blazing, and screamed, you're going to regret this. Gasps filled the room. My husband's face turned white. Her father shouted my name, demanding I stop. But it was too late, because in that moment, I didn't just shout. I grabbed the nearest glass vase from the side table and raised it high above my head. The vase felt heavy in my hands, my grip trembling as the room gasped in unison. For a split second, time slowed. I could see my sister-in-law's eyes widen, her smirk finally fading into genuine fear. I could see my mother-in-law clutching her chest like she might faint. My husband's mouth opened as if he wanted to shout, but no sound came out. And me, I wasn't even sure what I was doing anymore. My anger had become something bigger than me, something wild, something I couldn't fully control. I raised the vase higher. The room erupted. Stop, her father roared, lunging toward me. My husband moved too, both of them closing the gap in seconds. But before they could grab me, I let out a scream, a sound that came from deep in my chest, raw and broken. And instead of hurling the vase at my sister-in-law like everyone thought I would do, I slammed it down on the tiled floor. The vase shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces. The crash echoed through the house, louder than the slap had been. Everyone jumped back. Shards scattered across the floor, sharp and dangerous. The room was silent again, except for the sound of my own ragged breathing. Her mother was the first to speak. She's insane, she whispered, her voice trembling. That one word, insane, spread like wildfire. A cousin muttered it under his breath. An uncle shook his head. Even the kids, wide-eyed and scared, clung to their parents, whispering, why did she do that? My sister-in-law took a cautious step back, her hand still on her cheek, her face now pale. She looked around the room, then at me, and then back at everyone else, and softly said, this is exactly what I was talking about. She's dangerous. Dangerous. Another knife in my chest. I dropped to my knees, my body trembling. Not from fear, but from exhaustion. The adrenaline drained out of me all at once, leaving me feeling hollow. Tears finally spilled down my cheeks, hot and uncontrollable. I'm not crazy. I'm not dangerous. She pushed me. She made me snap. None of you see it, but she's been playing you all this whole time. No one said anything. My words just floated in the air, heavy but ignored. My husband crouched beside me, his hand hovering near my shoulder but not touching. Babe, you need to stop. Please, just stop. His tone wasn't angry anymore. It was almost pleading. That hurt even more. I looked up at him through blurry eyes. So you don't believe me either? You think I'm the problem? His lips parted but no words came out, and that silence said everything. I stood up slowly, my legs wobbling. I brushed the tears from my face, though they wouldn't stop falling. My hands were still trembling, and the broken pieces of glass crunched under my shoes. Her father pointed to the door, his face like stone. Leave before this gets any worse. It should have ended there. I should have walked out, held my head high, and left them to their lies, but as I turned to go, I heard my sister-in-law's voice again. She chuckled, actually chuckled, and then she said, see, this is what happens when you let trash marry into the family. The room gasped. Even her parents looked shocked at her words. But she didn't stop there. She folded her arms, looked me dead in the eyes, and added, you were never good enough for my brother. And deep down, he knows it too. That was the blow that shattered what little restraint I had left. I spun around, my voice cracking as I screamed, say that again. She smirked, her chin high, and repeated it slowly. You were never good enough. My body moved before my brain did. I lunged forward, straight at her, my hands reaching out. This time, not even my husband was fast enough to stop me. I lunged forward, my hands reaching for her, my vision blurred with tears and rage. Gasps filled the air as chairs scraped against the floor. My sister-in-law stumbled backward, her smug expression finally replaced with panic. I grabbed her by the wrist before she could slip away. You don't get to talk to me like that anymore, I shouted, my voice raw. She yanked at my grip, screaming, let me go, you're crazy! The room erupted into chaos. Her mother screamed again, clutching at her chest like she was about to collapse. Her father charged toward us, shouting for me to release his daughter. Cousins jumped up, trying to pull me off. The kids cried louder, terrified by the scene unfolding in front of them. My husband rushed forward, wrapping his arms around my waist, trying to drag me back. "Stop, please, just stop," he begged. But my sister-in-law wasn't just playing the victim anymore. She pushed me hard with her free hand, sending me stumbling into the edge of the coffee table. Pain shot through my hip, but I didn't let go. "You've made my life hell since the day I met you," I screamed at her, "and you know it. You know exactly what you're doing." Her eyes darted around the room, as if searching for someone to rescue her. Then she leaned in close and whispered so only I could hear, "And I'll never stop." That broke me. I raised my hand again, ready to slap her a second time, harder than the first. But before I could, her father grabbed my wrist mid-air. His grip was like steel. "That's enough," he thundered, his voice shaking the walls. He yanked me away from her, practically throwing me back into my husband's arms. My sister-in-law collapsed on the couch, sobbing loudly, burying her face in her mother's lap. Her mother stroked her hair, glaring at me with pure hatred. Her father pointed a finger at me, his face red with rage. "You're done. Do you hear me? Done. If you don't leave this house right now, I will call the police." The word froze me in place. My chest tightened, my knees wobbled. This had gone beyond a family fight. This was something that could ruin me. My husband tried to calm his father. "Dad, please, it doesn't have to go that far." But his father cut him off. "Don't you dare defend her. She assaulted your sister, twice, in my house, in front of everyone." His words stung like poison. Everyone was nodding along. Every pair of eyes in the room glared at me with disgust. No one, absolutely no one, was on my side. Not even my husband. He pulled me toward the door, his voice low and desperate. "We need to go, right now, before this gets worse." Tears streamed on my face as I looked at him. "So you believe them? You believe her over me?" His face twisted with pain, but he said nothing. His silence was louder than any words could have been. I stumbled toward the door, my husband guiding me, while behind us, my sister-in-law wailed dramatically. "She hates me! She's always hated me! I don't feel safe around her!" Her mother hugged her tighter, glaring at me as if I were a monster. Her father muttered something about restraining orders. Cousins whispered, children stared at me with wide, frightened eyes. Every step toward the door felt like I was walking deeper into a nightmare. And then, just as my hand touched the doorknob again, I heard it. Her voice. Soft, almost gleeful. "Don't worry, everyone. She'll be gone soon. And when she is, we'll finally have peace." Laughter bubbled in her tone, a laugh meant for me alone. I froze. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. I turned my head slowly and met her eyes. She was smiling through fake tears, knowing she had won. The rage that flooded through me was unbearable. My hand clenched around the doorknob so tightly it hurt. I spun around one last time and shouted at the top of my lungs, my voice echoing through the entire house. "This isn't over!" The words hung in the air, heavy and terrifying. My husband yanked the door open, practically dragging me outside, and as it slammed shut behind us, I realized the truth. The battle had only just begun. It's been a few weeks since that night, and I still feel like I'm living in a bad dream. I never thought things with my in-laws would explode like that, but here we are. The night we left, my husband didn't speak to me the entire drive home. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel, his jaw clenched. The silence between us was louder than any argument we'd ever had. When we got home, he just went to bed without a word. I sat on the couch until morning, staring at the wall, replaying everything over and over in my head. The next day, he finally said what I've been dreading. "I don't know if I can defend you after what happened," he whispered. Those words broke me more than the fight itself. He didn't say he was leaving me, but he didn't exactly stand by me either. He said he needed time. Meanwhile, my phone blew up. Missed calls, angry texts, his cousins calling me names. His mom sent me a long message saying I was never welcome in her house again. His dad threatened to handle it legally if I ever set foot near them. And my sister-in-law? She posted pictures of her bruised cheek on social media with captions like, "Sometimes even family can hurt you the most." Her friends commented things like, "Stay strong and you don't deserve this." She never mentioned my name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. It felt like the whole world had turned against me. I kept asking myself, was I really the villain? Did I go too far? Or was I just a human being pushed past her breaking point? Because here's the thing no one saw. Her smirks, her whispers, her digs, the way she made me feel small every single time I was around her, the way she smiled when she knew she had everyone fooled. None of them noticed, and even my husband, the person who should have noticed most of all, didn't see it. Or maybe he chose not to. A week later, my husband sat me down. His face looked older, tired. He said his parents were furious, his sister was traumatized, and the family was demanding that he choose between me and them. He admitted he loved me, but he also said, "You slapped your sister, twice. You smashed a vase, you scared everyone." I told him everything. Every insult, every manipulation, every little jab that broke me down until I snapped. I poured it all out, crying so hard I could barely breathe. He listened. He didn't interrupt. When he finished, he just sat there quietly. Finally, he whispered, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" That question cut deep. Maybe I should have. Maybe if I had, we wouldn't be here. But part of me knows he wouldn't have believed me anyway until he saw it with his own eyes. Right now, we're stuck. He hasn't left me, but he hasn't forgiven me either. We haven't spoken to his family since that night. He says we both need space from them. As for me, I can't shake the image of my sister-in-law's smile when she realized she had won. Because make no mistake, she thinks she won. She has everyone on her side, and I look like the crazy one. But here's the part she doesn't know. I've started writing everything down. Every comment, every insult, every little joke she made at my expense. I've talked to a therapist who believes me when I say I was manipulated for months. And slowly, I'm learning that what happened wasn't just a meltdown. It was the result of being gaslit for months. So maybe this chapter of the story ended with me walking out of that house in tears. But deep down, I know this isn't the ending. It's only the beginning of me finding my voice. And one day, whether my husband sees it or not, the truth about his sister will come out. Because secrets like hers never stay buried forever.